What's up, everybody? This is Quinn. I write music as Pariah. My debut EP, Swan Song, just came out. You can find me on at Find the Pariah on all socials. And today, I'm hanging with John the Ninja.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It's John the Ninja live in the dojo, aka the Dojang. You know it's the John the Ninja Studios. I got a cat here that has done it all, been through it all, and somehow, in the darkest moment of his life on the floor of a bathroom, he felt something say, "It's okay." And it is brilliantly put and described into how he's lived his life ever since. To start off, the man I'm talking about grew up in a secular household, so no belief in religion, but he was around religion for so long that he was able to take bits and pieces and learn about the human condition for everybody, not just Buddhists, not just Christians, but atheists and all of the sorts. But that's not where his main claim to fame came from, because I'm telling you, this guy's got his own company doing a lot of marketing for music people, and he's even had his own bands. But the reason we have a Mr. Quinn McGraw on is to talk about his latest project, Pariah, a last-ditch effort to continue in music. Over 20 years doing music, you get to a point where you're burned out. Is it worth it? And that's for any field. And he finally hit that straw of like, you know what? It's do or die, and man, did he do. He dropped his latest EP, Swan Song, which actually was a collaborative effort of all the work he was working on when he was like, if this is my last attempt at music, I'm going to go out on my terms. And man, did he create something special. So he's here not only to talk about Pariah, but his life story and a little bit about Star Wars. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Pariah. Good sir, how are you doing?
Dude, that is an intro. Let's go, man. Holy smokes, you done your homework. I feel like I'm sitting across from Nardwar.
I'm more thankful that you liked it, good sir, because with it, a career encompassing all that you've done, legitimately, I didn't even scratch the surface with your companies, the people you worked with, what you're doing now.
Mm.
It was very bare minimum. So thank you for that. But first and foremost, man, like I said, Star Wars, that's number one. I gotta ask you, your favorite film, or even the favorite of the new trilogy. I know it gets beat up a lot, but that second film,
Oof.
it was so close to being perfect.
Dude, the deep space Leia bit where she's like floating, that's a pass from me. I don't know about that.
Ruined the film for me. Everything
Pass.
perfect.
Yeah, out of the new movies though, okay, Rogue One. Dude, you want to talk about a film that came out post original trilogy, post the prequels that actually nailed it? Rogue One is untouchable.
Okay.
Fantastic.
What about Solo? Because Rogue One, I have this issue with suicide films. I'm not, excuse me,
Yeah,
not
true.
suicide missions. So my
Yes.
issue is I have an issue with suicide mission films.
Mm.
Initially, I don't like the fact that I know everybody's going in and going to lose, but then when I start watching them, I fall in love with the film. Like The Raid is one of my favorite movies of all time. Still
Oh.
like, oh, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it. And then when I start watching it, that do or die aspect of, it's on that I
Oh
think
yeah.
I think musicians get it. Like, hey, it's time to turn it up, kicks in. So could you relay a little bit more about Rogue One? Because out of the newer films, that's not the trilogy. Solo was my favorite out of those, even though that also gets a bad rap.
Solo was dope. It was I feel like Solo was more fun. It was a spaghetti western space cowboy thing which really lends itself well to the original space opera vibe that you get from the original Star Wars movies, but I just feel that the execution of Rogue One, it just it didn't pull any punches. It sits perfectly within the existing universe, and it didn't try to change much. It was like, let's play in the sandbox that George Lucas has made and honor it, but also bring new light to it. And I feel that that is one of the best movies that have come out from the new studios that just it picked it up off the shelf, it did its thing, and then it put it back where it belonged, and they were like, "Thank you, George," as opposed to who knows what's happening with the Knights of Ren and all of this other stuff, and the rule of two is gone. I mean, it's tough. It's tough out here for an OG fan.
But I think the beauty of at least the way you've interpreted the films and other interviews when you talked about it, you're open to understanding like this isn't the original, this isn't the same people working on
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like if you go into it expecting it to be the originals, you're already setting yourself up for heartbreak because you also have to give people creative license to take something in a new direction, just like anything creative.
And that's how I feel about one of my favorite shows was Cowboy Bebop. I love
Oh,
Love
Yes.
Netflix version, and everybody just hated it. I'm like, it's not gonna be the same. Look what they did with Vicious. I love that turn.
Pause. Cowboy Bebop. Have you seen Lazarus?
No, I saw one episode.
Dude.
Been busy. It was fire. That first episode was fire. It
Dude, so we got same creative team as Cowboy Bebop. We got the same guy who directed the fights as John Wick. And then you have one of my favorite artists, Bonobo, doing the soundtrack. It is like triple threat.
first episode when it dropped on streaming, I saw it, I loved it, and then it just fell in the cracks of
Mm,
everything else I was watching at the time. But I will hit that up. But back to it, man, because
yeah.
you're, you're cultured, and as a musician, a lot of artists, especially musicians, have an appreciation for pop culture. Mine
Mm.
would be more so the music and professional wrestling and other avenues in sports. I wanted to know, growing up for you, what were kind of the first artistic visuals that you saw that you really gravitated to? Was it music? Was it Star Wars? For me, it was very much Power Rangers, Star Wars, and a couple of Disney films.
From a cinematic perspective, definitely grew up an early sci-fi kid. Actually, I have it right here. This is a special edition, still wrapped VHS of Titan AE. Shout out. One of the best soundtrack movie. One of the first animated films to have computer animation when the dredge come in and it like I don't know, it's brilliant. That movie changed my life. It's clearly I got that for Christmas 3 years ago from one of my best buddies. He's like, you're never gonna believe what I found for you. Um, and when it comes to music, I mean, I grew up in a really musical household, not necessarily with other musicians, but my dad, so he grew up in the UK during the original punk movement, like Piccadilly Circus, The Clash, Sex Pistols, like all of those bands were coming up when my dad was a kid living in London and around Basingstoke. So he had the like dyed hair, safety pins through his ears, wool sweaters, black skinny jeans and leather. Like that was him growing up. And then my mom, she's a French Canadian hippie from out east. And she used to go and see like Jethro Tull, and she's seen Rush live a bunch of times. And so when I grew up, it was like music was everywhere back in the day when you had big analog stereo systems in my house in Prince George, which is like out in the sticks in Canada. Um, it was like music was just always playing. I grew up on all kinds of stuff, and then my dad got really into grunge when I was growing up. So like Pearl Jam and just like all of those bands really really influenced like maybe just the heavier drive. We always used to go to the lake out by where we lived, and I just remember getting into the big truck, and Dad would crank like verses from Pearl Jam. Like that's a pivotal record for me. And yeah, grunge and all of that. And it's the gateway. It only gets heavier from there.
Such an interesting dynamic, especially with your dad being in the punk scene, which had its time, and then you in the grunge, and that being people will never. It's weird now that we're of age because we heard it all the time when we were growing up, but people will never understand what it was like.
Yeah.
Moment for the Beatles and this and that. Versus was one of those. Even if you didn't know what was happening at the time, you knew something special. You can feel that memory. You are a music nerd and historian.
Oh yeah.
A lot of that doesn't just branch to the pop, to the punk. You know the obscure bands. Like if I were to say Obituary or The Sword, those more
The Sword is sick.
one of my favorite drunk concerts, man. I was just there staring. I was like,
Dude, I've never seen them, but like they're on my list.
bro, they are everything. I'm sorry to take away. They are everything the record has, and then it's just 10 times more.
They
Like
have that sound for live.
the recordings do justice, but the live show just they expand so much. Kind of like the Grateful Dead for their genre of metal.
Shout out John Mayer stepping in and being the new Jerry Garcia. Like what an insane plot twist.
Killed it though. Killed.
Kills it. Like he's the guy.
You really got into metal with bands like Linkin Park, Meteoras, Korn as well, and
Hmm.
Slipknot. Those are three pivotal metal bands that you've called out, and those are bands that are now getting their flowers, which I love. But at the time, they were the next iteration. Can you bring me back to the first time you heard them and what really sparked your love for them?
Oh man, I think the transition from grunge into heavier stuff, maybe not heavier, but just out of the more iconic bands, like LimeWire was popping off around the time. Shout out LimeWire. And it just opened up this whole world. So I went from growing up on grunge, and then I got really deep into some of the classic bands like Zeppelin. Um, who else was I listening to at the time? I can't remember, but like that whole myriad of bands. And then when we moved, my family moved from the country to a city called Kelowna, which was like 8 hours south from us. And that's where my life really started to take off. I mean, I was 10, so it was like I met my pivotal friends then, and all of the music in the city was happening. I went to a bigger school, and somewhere around then, my brother came home with Slipknot's 1999. And it was like there was an aura about owning this CD because at the time, it's like, is this satanic? Is it theatrical? Like, what is this? And man, you'd listen to Eeyore and just freak out. It was like the scariest thing you've ever heard, but it just hooked me. And I'm like, whatever this is, I want this. And that then became Korn. Linkin Park was coming up at the time. I got really into Mushroomhead, just any of the new metal bands that were just big in that era, probably circa, I want to say like 2004, 2005. That just became my entire personality and still is.
When did you start playing? Because you can play piano, you play guitar, you play all these instruments, but one thing I loved that was fascinating, you're super structured. You love
Mm.
the layering and there's a science to making sure that this particular situation here is happening in a certain way here. Like, were you one of those kids that when you started to learn music, because you were the new generation, because you were so engrossed in it, you kind of were miles ahead of those players before you?
I don't know. So I'm being a frontman and a vocalist is fairly new for me. I've only been a frontman of one other band, and that band only started, I want to say maybe 5 years ago. I've spent most of my time as a musician as a bass player primarily. So big fan of bass and then drums naturally. So like rhythm section has been always where I felt most at home. Singing and playing guitar and other stuff that came later-ish, but I really cut my teeth as a bass player first and drums. That was pretty much most of my time playing music.
Now, was this band Milo Quinn your Dark Punks project, or was this the other band?
Actually, yeah, there you go. I've been at this so long, you start to blur the lines. So Milo Quinn doing dark pop, that would have been maybe around the time of Pale Sky. Pale Sky is the other metalcore, post-metalcore, prog metalcore band. That was where I was like the first frontman singing and screaming, no instrument in my hands. And then Milo Quinn never performed. It was just a vehicle of expression, I guess, for wanting to try other sounds. Yeah.
I love how you said the rhythm section is your.
It's no surprise that in high school I got really into DJing, like dubstep, drum and bass. Like I love it, man. Just give me a sick beat, thick bass. I am so happy.
So let's move on then, because we don't really hear too much about your upbringing as far as like what you were doing on the side, like on any of the parties or crazy stories. But making your own company, man. You ended up doing marketing. You ended up helping other musicians do what they want to do. And I found that
hmm
interesting how things kind of blur. So what was that time frame from growing up, falling in love to music to graduating college? Were you able to finish your degree?
Yeah, so I did a year for audio engineering straight out of high school, and that was mostly partying with other musicians and then learning how to use analog gear. Pretty much, it was a lot of fun. I still have some friends from that time that I speak to regularly.
But when did you actually get to the point where you could start the music agency?
The agency launched, so I started as a freelancer during the pandemic, and then things started to grow from there. Pale Sky was actually the first band that I started. I took a couple courses during the pandemic. I was in a band called Living Machines at the time. We had a tour planned. We were going to do like a Western Canada run, and I had $3,000 of tour merch just show up at my door. And I was like, frick, all our shows got canceled. We thought it was going to be 2 weeks. Plot twist, it was not 2 weeks till the world opened up again. So, out of desperation, really, I spent some time learning how to run digital ads and grow a social media following and a streaming following. And that's scaled over these past few years to where I now partnered with my best buddy Ross, who's the creative director at Overthrown. And yeah, our dream is like you come to us with your recording and we'll hand you the cover art, visualizers, merch designs, and then we'll actually take all of that content and find the right people and help you build your audience. And that officially launched, I think, 2 years ago.
There's such frustration for artists, and you're giving them an avenue to
Mm.
alleviate that stress and self-doubt. Has there been a particular moment where it really, not saying paid off money-wise, but somebody really got a breakthrough and you were like, you know what? This is why we do it.
Yeah, a couple bands actually come to mind. One of the first ones was Trench. They're an industrial metal band out of Calgary. And I'd worked with them. This was about before I started doing the digital marketing stuff, but I was helping them with social media, branding, bios, press kits, that type of stuff. And definitely not claiming ownership over this, but we had worked together. And then shortly after, they went on and signed with New Damage Records, which was so sick. And then one of the bands that I was doing marketing for specifically are actually two, a band called Costin, shout out. They're a pop punk band, good friends of mine. And then another band called Freeze the Fall. Both of them, I ran ads for their first records. And then after that, they went on to get signed by different labels, which was like just so cool. Like I couldn't ask for a better outcome.
You know, one thing I love because what you do is something that you've struggled with for a long time, and that's being seen. And you've made it
Mm,
a point to say that you want your music to be for that person who feels unseen, whether or not it's music, religion, ethnicity, whatever it is. And the more we've grown up, our generation really was that silent generation where a lot of us felt like the outcasts
mm.
because social media wasn't to the extent we didn't know that maybe our friend who we talked to every day liked the same music we did, but yet
Yeah, right.
we're getting BS from everybody else for liking it or etc. For you growing up, what were those key moments that you felt different? Was it just the music? Was it your
Mm,
environment? Was it the way you thought? I've had some crazy, outrageous statements that, in hindsight, when I said them at the time, I didn't even know I was spot on, but everybody
right.
else was, too early before its time. So how did you
Mm.
feel alienated, or was it more so just because of the people that we were liking, like Slipknot and all those cats? We wanted to join that force.
I think a lot of my ability to struggle to fit in at times, like I had friends growing up, like I had good buddies, and it's like I kind of floated. I was a bit of a drifter. Like I was kind of in with the popular kids a bit, but then I was also down with like the smoke pit kids who'd skateboard and listen to metal music, and I was just a bit all over the place. And I feel like when you're always floating between groups, nowhere ever really feels like home. And for me, like to be honest, a lot of what felt like home was just kind of getting high and disassociating from a lot of the world because it's just such a weird time. You're 17, 18, you're coming into the world, you're coming into your own. And yeah, I was just like numb to a lot of it. I don't know. I felt like I was trying to escape something, maybe from myself. I'm not too sure. But going through all that and then coming out of it, um, yeah, it might have been different. I mean, there's no way to know, but yeah, I definitely chose escape as opposed to like embodying or integrating with who I was and my surroundings at the time. So maybe little A, little B.
How did video games and music help you with that? Because my brother, I love me some Diablo. I ain't touched four. Three pissed me off. Two. We are sacrificing some cows to the Lord, man. And
Secret cow level shout out, dude. Let's go.
I'm talking Jesus. None of this Satan stuff. Sacrificing the cows. All right. My God said, kill and eat. I want a hamburger. Let's go, Cow King. How did those formulate who you are now? Because when I think back to those video games and the music I played, we already know
Mm,
how music could have influenced you, but a lot of the stories and lessons I learned from video games really astronomically have transpired to real life situations where I'll be working at the pharmacy, I'll be dealing with somebody who's having a bad day, a uncalled for situation is arising. It's
mm,
weird to see how video games helped me articulate how to properly handle it when I didn't have a moral answer to a situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the beauty about video games in particular is that it's a gateway into a world, and there's so much self-discovery and exploration that happens in them, subconsciously or consciously aware of it. Um, like I think as far as the previous question of, where were the places that you kind of fit in or felt at home? I mean, video games were a big one for me. Like the older I got, the deeper I got into gaming, like pretty seriously. I don't game much anymore. I still from time to time, but because like making music and building this dream is kind of my video game right now. But yeah, man, I learned so much from games growing up as a kid. Even social dynamics, like I got really into playing MMORPGs, Guild Wars, games like that. Come on, like it just felt like a home for me. And I remember like my parents, my brothers would go off and like get into sports and do other things, and my parents would be like, "Quinn, like go outside, man. Like go see the world." And I'm like, I'm in a world right now. Like this is home for me. It just feels comfortable. It feels safe,
Yeah,
even if you're slaying demons and doing whatever else.
I'll never forget one Friday evening. I was in high school, came home, I'm chilling, playing video games. My mom's like, "You ain't got no parties or anything. You don't want to leave? It's Friday night. Go do something." That's when I learned my mom was seriously concerned for my well-being as far as being social. You mentioned that music knows you more intimately than
Mm.
people. And for me, I'm very scientific. I do believe in the spiritual aspect of reality, but everything I want it to be nice. It's got to be scientific somehow,
Yeah, yeah,
spiritually
sure.
somehow rooted. But the way you spoke about it and the way you've spoken about things in the past with your intellect, you are
Mm.
well researched in trying to figure out how humans exist and how we think about our existence. I never thought of music as a spiritual entity. I've always
Oh,
thought of maybe the universe, or how people say, I say God will give you the ability to manipulate music, will give you the gift of it, but you made it really romantic when you said it knows me. It is its
mm.
own entity. Could you
Hmm.
dive more into how you came up to that realization?
I have a tattoo, one of the first tattoos I ever got, actually. I mean, one was my last name with my family. We all got that. And then one of the other tattoos I have, it just says music is the language of feelings in Latin. And I think if you see, like, yeah, I mean, you can philosophize and theologize around, like, is music a transcendental force in the universe? And is it one of the eternal beauties that we have? And sure, we can go down that rabbit hole. But I think if we just see music for what it is, I don't like the longer I'm a musician, the less I see music as just a thing I make. And I see it more as a force in which I have a deepening relationship with. I see it as its own it's its own thing, and I get to interact with it. I've changed my language a lot from here's the song I want to write, as opposed to now, what is the song trying to say, or where does it want to go? And for some people, that might sound pompous or whatever, but that's actually how I experience it. And music knows me more intimately because if I see it as a relationship in my life, I've shared my darkest moments, just purged my soul. And music is the thing that has been there to witness that repeatedly, and it always is. And so now I almost treat music as this sacred relationship I have with it. And yeah, maybe I personify it a bit, but it's so hard to put into words how sacred and spiritual music is for me in that way.
Was there a particular artist or song that you remember when you were going through dark times that wasn't your music? Because we'll get to the EP soon, but that soothed the soul. I remember vividly in pain. It wasn't even a bad situation. It was just the adrenaline was kicking. But for like 2 years straight, I had to play Overkill by Motorhead because it was the only song that truly embodied the feeling, the energy, the total situation in that like 4 minute live bit, but it was
Mm.
just the raw power to get whatever was stuck inside of me out. And was there a particular moment where you doing music, every musician hits that crossroad where they get it, the theory
Yeah.
kicks in, or they're just naturally hey, this is a little bit more. Was there a moment like that? For me, it was playing Megadeth, and all of a sudden it was like a martial arts board. Just I heard a snap in my head, heard that snap in my head, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shoot, all the finger things I've been doing for the last 3 decades is now making sense. Um,
Yeah.
who was that musician, and what was that moment?
Man, it would be hard to distill a life of exploring music into a single moment, but one that came up, which actually wasn't one I expected to pop into my mind. You may or may not have heard on other interviews, but I don't listen to metal a lot compared to other genres of music. Ambient, neoclassical, post rock, those are my favorite genres. Lo fi, like anything like that. They're just little gateways into worlds. And I remember the first time I ever heard Explosions in the Sky, which is one of the best post rock bands of all time. No cap, on God, just changed my life. I was in the ninth grade. No, what was I? 10th grade. And my friend was like, hey, man, you need to listen to this. And he started playing it. And I was like, what is this? And he's like, this is Explosions in the Sky. I'm like, what genre is this? He's like, they call it post rock. And I was like, what am I listening to right now? And it was from the album The Earth is Not a Cold, Dead Place. The band lineup is three guitar players, a bass player, and a drummer. And when they play live, they just have incense burning on stage and they just like jam. And their songs are 7 to 12 minutes. And the song was, the song title of that, I remember the song. It was called First Breath After a Coma. And it just changed. Like I got goosebumps just talking about it. It was this magical moment of like, I didn't think music had that much power. And that it just changed everything for me.
You know,
Which is why I love like the layering and the building of the worlds. Like when I write a vocal track, it's like, what would 20 vocals here sound like? Like, why don't I just let myself explore what I can do creatively without worrying about how do I do this live and will it translate and all of that? It's like, dude, just make your art. It's like Tyler, the creator, said, create like a child, edit like a scientist. And I plan to always create like a child.
that just falls in
Shout
line.
out explosions in the sky.
Shout out and Havoc. You mentioned them too.
Yeah, Hammock is like a top five band every year for me on Spotify Wrapped.
Just the way you explained it made so much sense because your next album, you do want it to be a concept album. You do
Mm,
gravitate. You said a long time ago, writing music is dying to yourself. And
mm,
you've always been spiritual. Back to me believing because you're an artist, certain individuals get closer to the spirituality of reality than
mm.
others. Brian McLaren, you've also studied his routes as well, and he said something along the lines of simplicity, complexity, perplexity, and harmony.
Yes, sir.
With the way people break down their reality, I wanted to know, you've always been spiritual
Mm,
and you've always been encompassed by different ideologies. What was the thing you had to give up in essence to be released? I don't know if you're comfortable relaying what religion you are now, but just
mm.
hearing your story of when you were saved and getting the it's okay, because at the time you were partying a lot, you were doing drugs, and you were in the bathroom, felt like you were having a heart attack. And people,
Yeah.
if you've ever had a blackout moment, this is not even close to being funny.
And like I've blacked out before, but like I legitimately thought I was about to die. Like it's a very different experience.
It didn't seem like the addiction to drugs was the only thing you had to let go. What do you
Mm.
think was the dying of yourself of, okay, you know what? I give up. It's your story doesn't reflect it in that way, but the way things turned around for you, it seems like there was something more than just the addiction that was weighing on your spirit.
Yeah, the word I keep coming back to a lot in this instance is surrender. And I think in that moment there was it was really humbling. Like there's so little words I could use to describe what that experience was like and how it still marks me in my life today. I felt like I've been given a second chance, and I don't know how to reconcile that sometimes. And you can't rationalize it. I've tried. It's just it's a fruitless endeavor. But I feel the parts of me I had to give up. Um, Maybe not necessarily the parts. but I came to this place of realizing that who I currently was not good for me anymore. Like I had to give up me. I had to go like I don't love this. I don't like who I am, who I'm becoming, the way I'm living, what it's leading to, what it led to. And over the course of years, like this same life had it's taken friends from me and it still continues to do that. Like even last year, I had two funerals I had to go to for it's just like it's just nuts. But I think it's less about giving up and more about surrender and letting in. It's like what I had to give up were the walls that I had built around myself because I just refused to let people in because I felt that's just what I had to do to protect myself. But all it was doing was destroying me. And then when I gave those walls up and I like, and like we'll just say it for what it is. Like when I let God into my heart, like that changed so much for me. And again, you can try to rationalize it scientifically, knock yourself out. That's cool. I'm at peace with not trying to make sense of it anymore. And for a long time, I did. And it was actually really crippling to me trying to rationalize a spiritual or mystical experience. But I just accept it for what it is now. And from that moment, it like planted this seed of transformation that continues to every day and every week and every month, like remind me that I get to choose to die to myself and be made new again.
Help me with this. And that is going back to one of my favorite lyrics by you. Why don't you hear me when I cry out? That is
Mm,
off of Wanderer. And at the time, again, to bring perspective to the people listening, doing music for 20 years, writing in bands, you are consistently the only one putting in the effort. You came to a new place with your wife in Canada, and again, still the only one putting in effort, and you decide, okay, I'm gonna wash my hands, pick up the dirt, and do it myself. And the music was really out of a crippling depression time. That song especially was a crippling depression song, and you trying to fight with that. Was that before or after that coming to God moment where it's like, okay, I need to surrender? And for you listening to these songs, do you
mm.
feel that hashing of that same depression, or is it more so like, no, this is soothing because I dealt with it?
Right. So that holy moment on the bathroom floor, we'll call it, that was close to 8 years ago. So that was a long time ago. And it's been this slow, gradual unfolding of that transformation of my heart. And you were saying too, like, you've struggled sometimes with the giving up and the surrendering. And I'm thinking on it now too, like what I had to give up a lot was just my own resentment and my own anger and my own frustrations for the world that only essentially poisoned me, didn't do anything to change anything around me. But to write Wanderer, so that lyric is from Trevor, who's the feature vocalist in the song. And yeah, writing these songs for me, like, so I had that moment, was doing bands for a little bit more. I did Milo Quinn shortly after that, started Pale Sky, ended up leaving Living Machines. We moved to another city, and nothing was really kind of taking off. And in the season I wrote Wanderer and these songs, I was in a total crisis of faith, which was the first time or one of the first real times I'd experienced that dark night since having that bathroom floor encounter. And we moved here and we felt called here. It was like, moved to the city. And it was just like all these serendipitous things had happened. It's like we were looking on where we wanted to move. And then before you know it, Edmonton came up. I made one phone call and he was like, "Oh, I'm playing games online with a friend there right now who just bought a house and they want tenants." And they gave us the price we wanted. Like everything was falling into place. And then we moved here and it was just the desert, bro. Like it was no friends, no community, couldn't find a church that felt right. Tried to do music with some guys I met here. That fell apart. And it was like, if I had known coming here would have been that brutal, I don't know if I would have moved. But in the depths of all of that, at rock bottom, that's when I decided, like, I don't know what else to do. Everything feels hopeless. So I guess I'll just spend some time with music. And Wanderer in particular, like that song pretty much clawed me back from the brink of nihilism, to be honest. Like it was rough. It was freaking rough, dude.
To deal with what you were going through at that time, even if you had the vindication from others, like, no, this is really good to go on. I believe it was Pendulum. You said that another band had a situation they didn't know what to write about, and the lead singer was like, "Hey, man, just write about not having nothing. You can literally write." And
Yeah.
you said that was part of how you were able to write that song. Can
Hmm.
you go into that particular song's writing as well? Was it really just you were angry and you were just like, you know what?
Furious.
I'm angry. What specifically were the things you were upset about for that song?
Pendulum is, I mean, it's the first song that I wrote for Pariah with my friend Landon. And it was like, man, like before I even started writing, this was my depression was at its worst. And like, I'm sitting down to write a song. And at the same time, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I doing this again? Like, it just imploded again. And here I am, like a sick puppy, unable to escape. So, writing Pendulum for me was, I mean, it's twofold. It's one, it's being super frustrated with the years I've spent doing this and feeling like I've never broken out. And at this time, it's important to keep in mind that, like, I have a music marketing agency that's helping bands who have been getting signed literally in front of me. And I'm still here, like, where's my break, dude? Like, what is going on? It's that. And then it's also paired with the, well, if I'm not doing this, then what? Like, I can't even imagine my life without music, even if it's the last thing I want to be doing right now. So it is the push and the pull of, I can't escape you. So I guess I'll just accept that this is my fate and do it again.
Um, Logan of All the Pretty Things said something a long time ago. I'm misquoting that quote, but it was like, "We have to do this or we'll die." It's just
Mm,
that. Ken Shamrock of the UFC and WWE said, like, one time they asked him, was like, why do we put ourselves through this pain and hurt ourselves, and why? And he goes, because we're good at it, because we like it. And there's this inherent need to create the music, to get it out. For you,
mm,
what was that most depressing moment during that
mm.
process? Because you even saying like, when's my moment coming? I'm sitting here like, yo, this podcast, come on, y'all. I've had some. There's no way this guy got the opportunity. I didn't, but it wasn't even the pandemic. There was just a moment where it really was nothing's working, and as it is so crippling. It doesn't feel like depression. You're tired. You're lethargic. You don't want to do anything. You just want to sit back.
It's
And
like disassociate from the whole thing. Yeah.
said after the end of this EP, you could finally take that breath. So, what was the highest moment of that depression? And was when
Mm.
the EP was complete where you finally felt like, okay, I finally have moved on to a different portion of life from this particular depression?
I feel like so I started writing these songs uh, 2 Novembers ago, and somewhere through starting to go from this place of I don't want to write music anymore, I can't keep doing this, I'm sick of it, to actually watching these songs come to life and just finding myself again through all of that. Like again, as I've said, music is in essence dying to yourself and rediscovering who you are through these songs. And it was well before the first song had even come out that I just felt I had purpose and mission again. And you know, the first song came out in September, but leading up to that September, by the time it was March or maybe April, it went from I'm ready to quit music, but I guess I'll write some songs because that's how I just process my emotions. And then it was like I got teed up with Trevor, who has his own agency. He works with Brian Welsh from Korn and Lacey Sturm from Flyleaf, like all these big wigs. I ship him my record. I'm like, hey man, we've been chatting over the past few years prior, and I was like, hey dude, I don't know how much more I have left in me, but here's my record. It's just me. It's a solo project. I'm gonna call it Pariah. And he was like, this is nuts. And I was like, really? He's like, oh yeah. He then teamed me up to Jamie, who's my publicist now. She worked Slipknot 19.9. She worked Headbangers Ball Volume 2. Jamie's a freaking legend. She worked End of Heartache, Killswitch Engage, and I hit her up and I'm like, I have this record, help. And she's like, yes, let's do it. And then I landed a distribution deal from Symphonic. Then I landed my first ever grant. The government gave me $8,000 to market this thing. And it was like crazy to me. 6 months prior to that, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And then just trusting, again, that surrender of like, okay, man, take the wheel. Sure. Sitting there reading Ecclesiastes, like nothing actually matters. So why not? And for whatever reason, just trusting that this is, for whatever reason, my mission and purpose. It's like all of a sudden you're going with the universe and not against it. And it didn't feel like that for years, but here we are. And it's just been this relentless cycle of wins. And I feel like I'm strapped to a rocket. It's crazy. And I've never experienced that in my life.
But man, it just to have that vindication, just to have that little bit of I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I know I'm good at this. I know this is where my piece of living in the universe, Michael Beckwith, aligning with the
Yeah.
universe.
Yes. Yep.
I can only imagine the vindication you felt when things started shooting up. Also, shout out to Jamie. She's such a sweetheart. God
Dude,
bless.
shout out Jamie.
Woman, no.
Dude, shout out the whole team, man. It takes a village to do this. I was thinking about this the other day and I was like, you know what drives me crazy? This is my ADHD brain side tangent, side quest. Like I love rap and hip hop music so much. I'm a big nerd. I love it. I'll crate dig. I love it. All that stuff. The line that drives me the most insane, especially when modern rappers they say, I did it on my own. No, you didn't. No, you did not. You did it with an entire army of people and a team behind you. I get the sentiment, but it's like if I'm up here right now and I'm saying, yeah, dude, I did it. I finally did it. It's like, no, me and 20 other people did it. That like it takes a village to do this, man. And like without your team, you're nobody. The
Oh,
amount of rappers who claim that they did it all by themselves, and it's like, oh, you did it without a publicist? Oh, you did it without a distributor? Oh, you did it without a guy who's producing your beats? Oh, you did it without a mix engineer? Oh, what about your guy who filmed your music videos? I'm like, what do you mean you did it by yourself? No one does it by themselves.
Arnold Schwarzenegger said the same thing. Like when he got over here, he didn't do it by himself. He had people offer him food, take him to Thanksgiving, giving him clothes off their backs to help him before he actually made it big in the States. Totally different situation because we've been brought up to believe like a man does everything by himself. So
Yes.
it's credit
Yep.
to the team that built us up. But that is something that's interesting. I want to respectfully bring up his name, Brian Shockley,
Rest
big
in peace.
one of your biggest fans.
The
He
biggest of all time. Guy
years
had 3 tattoos of my band's logos on him, dude. Like, insane. Every band deserves at least one Brian Shockley.
for those who don't know, he did pass away. He did. I'm trying to say this
He
respectfully.
took his own life. That's just what happened.
When I found out that he passed away, I thought about Infinite Hologram, which is a song
Mm-mm.
about, and just the dichotomy of you're going through your own things at the time, and he also was going through his own things at the time. It
Mm-hmm.
really stresses the importance of, just being there for somebody can make a world of a difference. Just doing you, even if you don't know what they're struggling with, can actually save somebody else. I just
Yep.
know having myself been confronted with a situation where I had to talk to a coworker's family after she passed, and she was the
Mm.
breadwinner. Rest in peace. She was the one taking care of the family, handling all the issues. Her dad in a wheelchair, family struggling. Um, that legitimately was the hardest meal I ever had to have, and it wasn't because the
Mm.
food wasn't good. It was delicious. but because you can sense the pain dealing with that subject matter that you don't want to eat. But you know, if you don't, at least for my situation, if I didn't eat, that's going to make the family feel worse. So, you know,
Yeah.
an interesting, you know, lesson from dad, you know, you're going to have a meal you're not going to want to eat one day, eat this. But having experienced that situation of trying to console a family member when it's an
Mm.
inconsolable situation, how did you deal with that? And did the song have anything to do with that as well? Or is that totally removed?
No, so the song was written before I'd found out. I found out about Brian's passing 3 days before Pendulum came out. So it was the launch of this new project, and I'd noticed kind of leading up to it that Brian hadn't been particularly vocal. And like Brian's the type of dude, I'll start a new project or just write a song and I just send it to him. Like, I'm up to it. And he's just like, this is so sick. Like, we've been keeping in touch like that for years. And man, when I found out he passed, like his mom wrote me and was just like, hey, you knew Brian. And I knew immediately what that meant. It's like, oh, Brian died. Great. And, the more this happens, like, I've had so many friends pass away in my life. It's just like hard to keep track, to be honest. It's my wife and I joke that I'm just roommates with grief. It's crazy. And like, I don't like it. I'm not stoked on the fact that this is just a regular part of my life. Like every year this happens at least once. And to be honest, like I spend a lot of time reading about death and reading about people coping with death. There's a really good book called Advice for Future Corpses and Those Who Love Them. Very good. And I feel like it is a situation that the more you're in it, the more you realize that there actually isn't anything to say. There's nothing to show up for and try to console a person because their grief, like that's their journey and it's going to mark them and it's going to change them. But I find what makes maybe the grief palpable in the moment is the people experiencing it knowing that they're not alone, even though they feel probably more alone than they ever have. So it's less about what to say and it's more about just presence. Like being the silent oak tree that they can just know is there and that they can lean on, I feel does a lot more than trying to think of saying the right thing. There is no right thing to say. And I've learned that a lot over these past years. Just be there. No one's expecting you to say anything because it's not about you. It's just about being there for them. Yeah.
And that's still going all the way back to you a kid watching Star Wars. Very stoicism, very Jedi-like.
I've studied the Stoics intensely. Marcus Aurelius is a personal hero of mine for sure.
Loved meditations. Loved it. The best advice, and I think it does correlate, there's the statement he has in Meditations where it says, people say, do not think about or say about something bad because it can happen. And he puts in a brilliant perspective of, hey, no, this is a viable situation. Be real with yourself. This could happen. Don't dwell on it,
Yeah.
but definitely, you know, I've always been that one. It's like, what's the worst possible thing that could happen? Because when you don't know, that can also cause anxiety too. Well,
Right.
like,
Because you don't have control. It's a lack of control.
exactly.
But how he puts it, I loved it. It's like a great general is never surprised. And that to me is just like bars, dude. Like that's the thing. It's like don't hyperfixate, but don't let yourself be surprised because there's a chance that the thing that you hope might not happen could happen. So if it does, what will you do? Like prepare for that. But
Ex-
that's a different than just like living out this self-fulfilling prophecy of attracting the worst. Because if you're afraid of the worst thing happening, you tend to actualize it, which is like a backwards way. Yeah.
That also back to Michael Beckwith and attracting what you want, focusing on it. Man, you know, not saying that sugar mama coming around anytime soon, but anyway, speaking of sugar mamas, the fact that you just said this, I did not hear this in prior interviews, but you guys said you room with grief. And I'm
Yeah.
sitting here like, you technically living with your wife, man. Are you kind of stabbing her without her? Because
No,
she
dude.
knows that you have that intellect, so there's no way it's going over her head. I do tend to fantasize about the relationship aspect of two humans being together. I love asking people, and I always try and do it tastefully when I do these interviews, but I am curious to, what brought you guys together? Was it high school sweethearts? Was it the industry?
Mm,
To have somebody that, whether or not they believe in what you believe in or don't believe what you believe in,
mm,
to take up the mantle and be a support to you, incredibly difficult, let alone just being married. Now you're a musician with the possibility of not only touring, but you could be home and not give her that time too. And
right.
I've seen Lemmy of Motorhead say, "Don't do it. It's not fair to the woman." And then I've seen Lips of Anvil be like, "Hey, you know what? We made it work." Alice Cooper, like, "Hey, the 5 minutes of BS ain't worth the 20 years of BS." Um, how did you guys meet, and how has she been supportive? And do you even feel like you've been a support to her?
Yeah, we have a really good relationship. I mean, like any relationship, you learn more about it as you grow together. We've been together 11 years, married for 5. Yeah, it's been a long road, man. We always joke that she's been married to 3 guys. When we met, I was vegetarian, a spin instructor, and Buddhist. And then I was like atheist, kind of stoic, self-destructive party Quinn. Because like I had party Quinn before my Buddhist arc, but she didn't meet that version. She met like straight edge vegetarian Buddhist Quinn and was like, this guy's stand up. I could rock with that. Plot twist. I was not that guy for our entire relationship. She survived my self-destructive arc and then came out the other side like an upright man of faith. And now we're here. And that has been like such a journey for me, but like big time for her. But she said something to me years ago, and it was like this was in the thick of my party days. But when we had survived that time, she said something along the lines of like I always saw the version of you that was most redeemable, and I didn't give up on him. And now he's here. And that just like that's stuck with me forever, man. My life's so much better for her being in it, and she supports me in my dreams. And like I've said this in another interview, like I've dated a girl before years ago. I mean, this was like high school, so we're all still figuring ourselves out. But they said verbatim, "You love music more than you love me," and it's like, well, yeah, I do, but also you're not music. Like I can't date music. Like this is a very different dynamic. It's a different kind of love. There are degrees and there are different types. There's like the agape love, that unconditional spiritual love. There's like the interpersonal dynamic relationship love. There's the love that is experienced in the transcendent. That for me is through music. Like it's not just one thing. But yeah, and in the same token, like she said sometimes it can be hard living with a guy who's like getting after his dreams and chasing them. But I feel there's a part of our dynamic where I've also helped her see her own greatness. And I mean, we all go through it. And like my wife also has mental health stuff. But when you love someone and you're with them long enough, you see them for how great and how big they are. And when you see that person that you love most seeing themselves as really small, it's like it's kind of your job to get in there and help them remember who they really are and reconnect beyond those limiting beliefs. So yeah, it's a back and forth. You know, sometimes I can only offer 20%. Sometimes she can only receive 20%. So we're working it out.
That was so beautifully said too, man. You're just a wealth of one-liners that need to be heard, because even Corey Taylor, when he was talking about his relationship, and he's been around the block, but he's like, she gives me the room I need to figure it out. And we could be 40 years old, we could be 20 years old. There are certain aspects of our existence where we just we it doesn't connect what's happening. That's why people think it sounds stupid to realize like, oh, are you depressed? Well, all right, let's sit down. Okay, now we know we're depressed. Let's see why we're depressed. Those steps seem so stupid out loud, but then when you really do the process of trying to internalize what's happening, then you get to understand like, oh, this really is helping. Now I can deal with the situation. Oh,
Yeah. How are you supposed to see outside of yourself? And I always use the analogy of like in our marriage, like I always tell Sydney, my wife's name, I'm like, I'm a mirror. That's my job. When you're at your best or you're at your worst, like I hold the mirror up. I want to help you see who you really are in that moment. And like that's all I could ever ask of her too, is like, hey man, if I'm falling short, hold the mirror up. If I'm at my best and I'm not taking a moment to appreciate that, hold the mirror up. So
oh my gosh, just lined up with these bars, man. I know you're a rap fan.
yeah, watch out Twitter, dude. Let's go.
You
My
know,
150 character arc about to come out.
I always ask the most important question last. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
How to decide? That's the question. Man, maybe it's just because it's top of mind, but I think like memento mori is something that I hold very dear to my heart. I think if more of us actually lived knowing we are going to die, so much of how we live would be different and we would all be better for it. Who you think you are, the things you think that matter or don't matter, like so much is brought into perspective when you really come to terms with the fact that this is all temporary. And we can speculate and talk about, spiritual realities and other things that may or may not be true. We all take our best guess, but for what we do know for a fact is that this is the only life we can for sure know we have. I think if we're all being honest. And if you lived it like that, like if you really lived it like that, I think you would just live a life that maybe you were afraid you were even capable of. But the only thing we're more afraid of than death is our own potential.
Living life on the edge morally is how I put it. Don't want to stop.
I love that. Living life on the edge morally.
Telling you, man, I don't tell this story, but during the pandemic, I was like, you know what? I only got one life. I'm gonna do it. I came up with a whole will thing, which is garbage perspective. But man, I remember I went back to look for it to set it up. It was gone. It was
Mm,
gone. And I was like, you know what? Maybe that's God telling me something. So it's hard to go all out, but still give respect to existence, yourself, and live on your terms. That's
yeah.
difficult dichotomy. But ladies and gentlemen, I have one more question for this man. Mr. Pariah, Black Sabbath did a song called Pariah. Would you cover that song? Pariah
Ooh.
covering Pariah?
Ooh. Maybe. Maybe. Because that is a banger.
I think that would work geniusly.
We'll put it on the dream board. We'll see.
I'll put it on mine. This way you ain't got to worry about it. It'll just happen. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much to our guest, Pariah. What an incredible story. You have to go check out Swan Song, the EP. It is out now. It's got songs like Pendulum, which I've been saying Pendulum, but that's a different issue altogether. Infinite Holograms. It is just a plethora of really fantastic music that does reach all sorts of influences, but has come out with something very specific to this music. A little bit of dark punk, you feel your metal, but it's definitely got the heartstring pull. So go check out the EP out now. It's on Instagram, it is on Spotify, music, YouTube, all of that. And also go check out Pariah. The best way to find him is find the Pariah on also the platforms I just mentioned, Instagram, X, find the Pariah. Literally the fastest musician I have found on social media. Find the Pariah, go subscribe to his YouTube and his Instagram and his Netflix, his YouTube, all of that. Guys, Spotify, I'm telling you, as ridiculous as I'm being, he's easy to find. He's a fantastic listen. Go send your support. Good sir, thank you so much for your time today. It was a brilliant conversation with a really astute and studied individual in music and just living.
Pleasure to be here, man. Such a privilege. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And everybody else, be smart, be mindful, rock on, and job.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. All your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.